This was too much. I really wanted to love The Bride. The cast is incredible. Maggie Gyllenhaal is directing, and the concept is bold. But honestly, I struggled with this movie almost from the very beginning. Let's talk about it. Hey everybody, my name is Troy. Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to review The Bride, directed again by Maggie Gyllenhaal, starring Jessie, Buckley, Christian Bale, Jake Gyllenhaal, Penelope Cruz, and a great cast overall. And like I said, I just really wanted to love this movie, but I could not get into it. It did not land for me, unfortunately. When I first saw the trailer for this movie, I was intrigued. The cast was incredibly promising. I'm a big fan of Jessie Buckley, but again, this one just didn't work for me overall, which honestly bums me out because there was a lot of potential here. I think there is just too much happening. There's too much going on. A lot of the time it felt over the top. And unfortunately, like I said, I love Jessie Buckley a lot, but I just could not get with her performance in this movie. The premise of the movie is a different adaptation on the story of Frankenstein and the Bride of Frankenstein. And she's almost possessed in a way by the author of Frankenstein, Mary Shelley. And I found it difficult to resonate or really to follow her character when she was going back and forth between different personalities. Like I said, it was distracting almost at times. I couldn't vibe with it, and it ultimately took me out of the movie every single time that it happened. The first 30 to 40 minutes of this movie is also really tough for me to get through. There's even a dance sequence with a lot of flashing lights that I personally found visually overwhelming. And usually that doesn't happen with me, but I couldn't watch. I physically had to close my eyes because of the different cuts and the lights and all the sounds. And like I said, it was overwhelming visually, which I haven't experienced really before. It's really hard to get through those first 30, 40 minutes. I think there often are movies that we watch that we kind of know a little bit into it that we don't think this is going to land for us. And unfortunately, this was just that movie for me. One of the bigger issues for me also is that I never was able to connect with any of the characters, which again is just disappointing because the cast is so strong and there's clearly a lot of talent involved here. And I think a lot of that reason why is that I found the plot really messy overall to follow. Again, there is the concept of Frankenstein wanting a bride, which is, yeah, we understand that, but just the way that this movie develops and just unfolds is just, it's messy, unfortunately. What they do to advance the plot, certain elements of different characters they bring up at different points to try to drive home connections throughout. I mean, there's even a time when the bride has a connection to a detective that it's an emotional moment, but it's hard to feel that emotion because we didn't have any understanding of the background of her character and how it's involved with this greater investigation. And so it just was a struggle for me to get there. And I did see some interesting reactions online to this movie this week. And one that kind of caught me off guard because, again, I saw in the trailers, it looked really interested. It looked really intrigued. But hearing some of the reactions this week, I thought there's no way that people are having this strong a reaction to this movie in a not positive way. But unfortunately, I can see that. And I think without that emotional connection, it makes it harder for the rest of the story to land. Because I couldn't connect with these characters, I found myself not really invested in the story overall, which is unfortunate because, like I said, the cast is really great. You got Penelope Cruz in there, Christian Bale. Obviously, again, my girl Jessie, I love her. She's about to win an Oscar next weekend for Hamnet. But again, just because of the messiness of it, it was a struggle for me. I think this movie felt like it didn't really know what it wanted to be. At times, it felt like a romance. Then it shifts into something closer to a romantic comedy. In other moments, it feels like a crime thriller. And instead of really blending those tones together in a smooth way, instead I felt pulled around as to what sort of movie I was experiencing. I think that if it would have picked even one of those three different lanes, that I think it would have been more successful, in my opinion. I think it maybe a lot more people would be able to connect with it in a certain way, but just felt like almost three different genres crammed into one film. I kept wishing the movie would pick one main direction and really lean into it. Again, whether that was the romance, the darker thriller elements, or something else entirely, because I think trying to juggle so many of these different ideas really hurt this film in a lot of different ways. Even the big moments of this movie kind of felt cheapened by my inability to connect with the story overall, because there are a few moments throughout where it's a kind of a shocking twist, so to speak, or just a big moment happens, whether it's a violent act or an emotional act. But it's, like I said, it's hard to connect with it because for me of how all over the place this movie felt. And so I just wish they would have tightened it up a little bit. I think that they could have improved a lot of those different things, and maybe it lands better with me. Maybe it lands better with other people. Kind of disappointed in this. And I wish I had a different reaction coming onto this movie than I do right now, but unfortunately, that's where I'm at. I do want to say that I appreciate what Maggie Gyllenhaal was trying to do here, and the movie clearly has ambition and is trying something stylistically bold and different. And it's hard not to compare this movie to Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein last year. That was just amazing. It was one of my favorite movies. That's obviously gotten a lot of awards recognition this season. So it's hard not to compare the styles, but they are completely different. And I do appreciate Maggie taking a bold swing here, but I just unfortunately didn't work for me. And I've been seeing reactions online where it's worked for people too, and it's awesome. It's great. I'd love to hear if you enjoyed this movie, how that landed for you. I really would have liked to hear that, but just unfortunately for me, that wasn't the case. Ultimately, The Bride just didn't land for me, but I respect the ambition behind it. I can see how people might connect with this story, this tone, but for me, that just wasn't the case. But again, if you did like this movie, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. What did you enjoy about it? What was your favorite performance? How does this compare to other interpretations of the story that you've seen in the past too? I'd be curious to know your thoughts in the comments below. But if you like this video, leave a like, subscribe to see the future stuff, guys, and thanks for tuning in.